Blessings, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Sette. Thank you once again for offering me this opportunity to share with you my higher self's knowing into the astrological and spiritual possibilities for the month of September 2017. 2017 September. We're moving so very quickly through this amazing year. We're just coming out of an eclipse season, and I inspire you to recognize that even though we experienced the eclipses in August, those energies will certainly be very present with us for the next few months. They will once again be activated and triggered in November. I inspire everyone to really recognize what Spirit has been showing you personally and specifically regarding yourselves and your own spiritual journeys while we are here in human form. So much energy is stirred up during the time of an eclipse, and as I've shared with you in many times before, the energies of an eclipse are neither, in and of themselves, they're neither negative or positive. They really bring to form and accentuate all the energies and the intentions that we have set up until the time of the eclipse event. And of course, they are very specific as how they will present themselves to us based on their positions in our charts. For many of us, it has been a time of dramatic endings, and certainly we do not undermine and downplay any of the difficulties or challenges that are presented when we are offered the opportunity to really release and close a chapter in our lives. As difficult as any of this might be, remain focused on all the blessings that are coming together for so many of us during these very self-empowering times. We begin September with the Mercury retrograde. Mercury has been retrograde since August 12th. It will remain retrograde until September 5th. And remember, not until it moves past the point where it went retrograde that we are completely out of the influences and the effects of the Mercury retrograde, and that point is September 19th. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and remember that a Mercury retrograde period has a great opportunity. It serves a purpose, as all planetary phenomena do for us. During the Mercury retrograde period, as I've said, we remember the RE words. We remember, we reconnect, we reevaluate, we review, we rewrite things if we're working on manuscripts or letters. We reconnect with people that we have forgotten about or lost touch with. This Mercury retrograde was in the sign, or rather, it's still in the sign of Virgo. And the sign Virgo, among many things, it is one of the rulers of Mercury is one of the rulers of the astrological sign of Virgo. The other sign that Mercury rules is Gemini. But right now, where Mercury is in the sign, moving retrograde in the sign of Virgo, Virgo connects with well-being. It connects with our personal health care, with whatever that might be for you. So during this Mercury retrograde period, in general, it's a perfect time to review your own personal health care regimens with whatever that they might be for you. Certainly, wherever Mercury is retrograde in the chart specifically will further define as to where we can, or where we need to review certain dynamics, facets of our lives. In general, the Mercury retrograde in the sign of Virgo offers us the opportunity to review our health care, the personal health care, and our well-being. One other aspect of a Mercury retrograde that not too many people recognize, it's a time to receive blessings. You see, because we are going within and we are offered the opportunity to step back, whenever we step back, we allow ourselves to receive all the blessings that certainly are very much coming to us. At times we need to be a transmitter, and sometimes we need to be the receptor. The Mercury retrograde period is a time for us to be that receptor and to receive. If you have a Mercury retrograde at the time of your birthday, of the beginning of your astrological year, the coming year for you, it's a time for you to step back and know whatever intentions you may have set in motion, whatever it is that you are being, it's a time to really receive those blessings. You know, so many times we don't feel comfortable stepping back and allowing ourselves to receive. It certainly does not mean that we are to become complacent, that we are to become lazy. We are actually very much recognizing how we are receptors to all the energies that we and intentions that we have set in motion. As I said, it's a time for us to be that receptor and to receive the blessings because we're going within. We're not really connecting with the outer world, we're going within, and we're allowing ourselves to really receive the blessings that we have set in motion, as well as guidance from spirit. You know, regardless of whether it's Mercury retrograde or not, it's always a great time for us to receive guidance. Mercury retrograde, the receiving of the guidance from the spirit realm, because we're going within, is a little bit more accentuated during those periods. So keep all of this in the back of your mind, especially as we're coming out of this eclipse season. Our next full moon is on September 6th, and the exact time of the full moon is 3:03 a.m., and that is Eastern Daylight Time. This coming full moon on September 6th, it's in the sign of Pisces, and what's significant about this this full moon and this phenomena is that the full moon is directly connected with the planet Neptune. Now, whenever Neptune is involved, we have to be very careful that we are not allowing ourselves to be confused by what it is that we are seeing in the outer world. Neptune at times can be very nebulous, very deceiving. However, it only contains those elements if we allow ourselves to connect with the third dimensional world more so than we might need to. Neptune, because it connects with the spirit realm, it heightens the psychic faculties around the time of this full moon. Certainly our psychic faculties overall will be very much heightened. In those of us who may not necessarily be aware of our psychic faculties, because every one of us has the ability on a psychic level to connect with the spirit realm, and we're becoming much more aware of these connections that all of us have with the spirit realm. And if we haven't been so aware, certainly as we approach this full moon and around the time and the weeks and even the month after the full moon leading up to the next full moon, so many of us will be given opportunities to fully become aware and to really receive the blessings of our psychic faculties, because that's how spirit guides all of us. Every one of us is connected to the spirit realm. Every one of us has these divine interactions and these divine connections. It's a very natural part of our human experience. The psychic phenomenon is anything but supernatural. It's actually something very natural, and it's something that every one of us has the ability to really embrace and rely upon as guidance as we are on this earthly experience, on this human journey. As I said, it's a time of heightened psychic awareness, and so that we are not misguided by the experiences of the outer world, because also those forces which have it's in their intention to misguide us, to mislead us, to create us feeling very confused, will certainly be very much present as we go through the time of the full moon and the weeks following the full moon, so that we are not misguided. Let us use these times to really go within and to reflect and allow yourself to recognize your own personal and unique connections with the spirit realm. And as I've suggested in many times before, so that we can be very clear with what spirit is sharing us, we need to be clear in our aura energy fields, as well as grounded to the energy and the element of the earth. Those two priorities right there can very much ensure you that you will be very much guided in very clear ways with and from spirit. So just allow yourself to be very aware of your own connections with spirit. If you haven't really recognized your connection with the spirit realm, perhaps work towards that goal to increasing your own psychic abilities, as well as recognizing how spirit is already very present in your human experience. Be very aware also of any imbalances energetically, especially, and otherwise from the outer world, because when there is a heightened psychic sensitivity, we can certainly feel when there is the presence of imbalances, very, very much so. So if for any reason you're feeling very off for no reason, and you really have no point of reference as to why you're feeling somewhat out of sorts, you could be connecting with some of the imbalances in the outer world, and those imbalances could very much be heightened in and around the time of the full moon. So just allow yourself, as I said, to just be very clear in your being. Ground yourself to the energy of the earth. Pisces being a water sign, allowing yourself to take salt baths at the time of the full moon will help facilitate the clearing of the energy field. Bathe in the ocean if you have the availability to do that. The element of salt is very grounding as well. I surround my home with natural sea salts. I even beneath my bed, I have in each corner glass containers of sea salt to help keep me grounded as I sleep. Just a couple very simple suggestions to help you move through these times, but also something to be aware of at all times for yourself to help keep yourself cleansed and very, very grounded. Our next new moon is on September 20th, and that will be in the sign of Virgo. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with the Mercury retrograde being in the sign of Virgo, it connects us with our own personal health care and health care routines and well-being. As we approach the new moon, and as I've said in the past, the days leading up to the new moon, those are the dark moon. So I would suggest during the dark moon, further reflect on your personal health care regimen and well-being, and ask Spirit to show you perhaps what might no longer be serving a greater purpose for you, so that when we begin this new lunar cycle of experience, we can set the intention in motion to create and establish optimum health care and well-being for yourselves personally in whatever way that you might need to do that. As I said, leading up to the new moon, allow yourselves to reflect on perhaps what you might already be embarking upon that may no longer serve a purpose. Reflect on what needs to be changed. Let Spirit guide you and show you. Perhaps there might be foods that you need to eliminate. Perhaps you're becoming much more sensitive to the foods that you are consuming. You see, as we begin to have a heightened spiritual experience, we do become much more sensitive to certain types of foods, and our bodies will certainly share with us what no longer serves a purpose for its function and its well-being. Allow yourselves to recognize what no longer serves that purpose. Recognize your own mind-body connection so that you can incorporate high vibrational foods into your routines, and recognize whatever that might be for you personally and specifically, because what works for me may not necessarily work for you, and I inspire everyone to recognize how your body's communicating with you when there is an imbalance that will need to be corrected, and let your body and spirit show you what you need to incorporate to correct any physical imbalances with whatever that might be. Remember that our emotions do create the conditions of our bodies. When there are extreme imbalances of emotions, certainly they will manifest in the physical form. Many of you are aware of Louise Hay's phenomenal, progressive, light years ahead of its time book, You Can Heal Your Life, that was published, I believe, in 1988. That is a wonderful material to really review at these times, and recognize how the physical imbalances certainly stem from emotions and anything else that might interfere with our physical well-being. So use this new moon as a perfect time to begin a new healthcare program that is very much naturally based. I always suggest embarking upon, if it resonates with you, a plant-based diet. Certainly I've been even doing this for myself, because as we continue elevating in our spiritual vibration, in our physical frequencies, low vibrational foods such as animal products may not necessarily fit in with along the frequency that we're now where we're now vibrating. So be aware of this for yourself personally, and allow yourself to recognize whatever changes you may need to incorporate for yourself. On September 22nd, we have the autumn equinox. The sun moves into the sign of Libra. Libra represents nature and the natural world. We also believe that the earth itself has what we call a Libra rising. Libra is the sign of beauty, and certainly when we look at the earth, we do see in it, when it's in its natural state, we see the element of beauty. During the time of the autumn equinox, allow yourselves to recognize your own personal connections with Gaia, the earth. I also suggest to, in your daily meditations, certainly allow yourself to thank the earth for all the blessings that it shares with us, and also to see the earth surrounded by that pink aura element light of love, because the earth very much needs that element of love present with it as it goes through its own ascension process, just as many of us are experiencing an ascension process at this time. And we know that whatever we send out will return to us. So the love that we send to the earth will certainly be reflected and given back to us. And we know, and we are very aware as we're moving through these times, our own connections with the element of the earth. And we really are, whether we recognize it or not, we're feeling the imbalances that perhaps are out in the natural world, and the earth itself is experiencing. So keep yourself grounded and connected to the earth. Let yourself be aware of your connection, your personal connection with nature and the earth. It was written in the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, the philosophies that are so reflected in the natural world. Perhaps review some of those philosophies, and how all things that we are experiencing really are reflected in the natural world, how there are so many blessings that are present in nature, and how being in the natural world is also very healing for our physical well-being. So perhaps at the time of the autumn equinox, enjoy time in nature. Allow yourselves to recognize how nature communicates with you, how the presence of spirit is very much heightened when we are in the natural world, especially when we are removed from any man-made structures, such as along the oceans, in the forests, and any place where what might resonate with you personally. On September 27th, for most of this year, Jupiter and the planet Uranus have been in opposition to one another. And opposition is just like a full moon. The heavenly bodies are at opposite ends of the spectrum. Uranus, as I've said, is the great awakener. Uranus awakens us to what might have been dormant regarding our human experiences. It's also the planet of chaos and change. As I've said, great chaos will always precede great change, and we're very much experiencing the time of great chaos that is going to precede great change. Jupiter connects with the higher mind. That Jupiter-Uranus opposition has given us the opportunity to be that much more aware of our connections with the higher mind, to clear those connections with the higher mind, because it's the higher mind, is that part of us that exists in the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is the spirit realm that is free from any human third or fourth dimensional interferences. And when we allow ourselves, one, to recognize that we have a connection with our higher self, and to clear that connection with the higher self, it's that umbilical cord that is connected to us, that connects with that part of us that is in the spirit realm, we easily, effortlessly receive guidance from spirit. So this alignment of Jupiter and Uranus has been amplifying this awareness of the connection with the higher self, as well as the guidance which comes from spirit. Jupiter represents the higher mind. It's the sign that represents the spiritualist. It's also the sign of spirituality and religion. I'm going to emphasize spirituality because with that Jupiter-Uranus alignment, humanity overall is moving from religion to spirituality. And when I say that, I don't say it to discredit any religion, because I do believe that all religion has merit. What's coming through this experience is that any misguidings, misleadings, misinterpretations of spirit that are connected with religion are being dissolved. And certainly allow spirit to show you what might be true for you. I always emphasize that what's true for me may not necessarily be true for you. And what we share is not absolute. And I also inspire everyone to recognize what you might know for yourself is also not absolute. Because as we exist in physical form, all things are relative to one another. However, I inspire everyone to live and know your own personal truth, and keep yourself very much so in a place of love. When we allow ourselves to be in a place of love, and also to see love in all our experiences, we cause ourselves to be somewhat removed from the situation, and we can observe it from afar. It's called being in the world and not of it. And when we allow ourselves to remove ourselves from a situation, to observe it from afar, clear our connection with the higher mind, spirit will share with us the bigger picture information of the situation that we are observing. We will also be given the information as to the blessings that we can receive in any situation that is unfolding in the outer world. The last element I want to highlight is that on September 28th, Pluto will be moving direct in its orbit. It's been retrograde since April. Pluto is, among the many things, is really the element of empowerment. As Pluto begins to move direct, we could feel ourselves, our willpower, coming back to life. It doesn't mean that it's been dormant during the Pluto retrograde. It's been recharging. The Pluto retrograde recharges our battery and our willpower. And it is that willpower that causes and creates the intention to bring to manifestation all it is that we desire. So allow yourself to be aware that you've been being recharged in these last few months, and be prepared to really take the reins as we move out of this eclipse season through the remainder of this auspicious year. As I personally go through these next few weeks, I will be finalizing my travel plans for my visits in November at both the Mystical Moon in Fort Myers and in Bonita Springs. Lori will be sharing with you that information very, very shortly. It's absolutely amazing how quickly these times are just unfolding for us. I certainly very much, as I always do, look forward to sharing some personal time with everyone. Until then, stay in the light, stay in a place of love, certainly care for yourselves, care for each other, and as difficult as it might be, See all experiences from a place of love. Many blessings. Namaste.